Going on, everybody? Hope y'all are having a good one. So I spent all night last night and into this morning working on a few rigs here, and instead of doing multiple videos, I just figured I'd go ahead and bring them all up here in one shot. We'll start on the left and move to the right. The high trail, last couple times I'd taken it out, I was having not really issues, but there was a serious lack of power and steering. Not surprising, it still had the stock servo, and since I got this thing used, there's no telling how hard that thing had been abused in its previous life. So I finally get to live up to some of the stickers, and I've got a Three Brothers G13 Pro servo. Big shocker, I know. I run that servo on pretty much everything, but there's a reason for that. So that thing should be pretty well good to go for the time being anyways. The Capra. So the last time I messed with it, which was right after the Trucks with Cups finals was over with, I brought it back home. I threw the 110 millimeter Desert Lizards that I actually got with the high trail, threw them on there, and I got a 1800 kV Fusion SE and threw in there as well, because the 1200 that I was running in it was having some overheating issues. So after a little while of slow crawling, it would actually hit thermal cutoff, and then every time after that it kept getting quicker and quicker. So it was time to get that out of there. So now I've taken the next small step in my long process of upgrading this thing. I went ahead and stretched the wheelbase. Now, that's all I did since the last video, but now we're sitting at, I think, just over 13.5-inch wheelbase. I put new rear links and Traxxas rod ends on all four of the links on the rear, and then on the front I didn't have enough Traxxas rod ends to do both sides of all four links on the front, so I just did the 4 rod ends on the front of the links. So there's a good chance that it may get a little bit longer yet, but I have to get some more rod ends to be able to accomplish that. And then since I did stretch it out a good little bit there, I did have to put some new drive shafts in it. So I've just got some of the cheap cut to length drive shafts you get on Amazon. So give that thing a run around the rocks and compare it to how it did the last time I had it out here. Stability should be even better because it's longer now. Hopefully a little better on the vertical sections, and the shocks are actually laid down a little bit more now, so it actually lowered it a good bit. So should be able to see some sort of improvement there. And then the 6x6 dually, so I haven't had this thing out in quite a while. The last time I had it out, I actually broke the pinion gear. Like, it just shattered. Did a couple hole shots in the mud hole, and yeah, that thing just exploded. And since then, I have robbed parts off of it for other things here and there. It's just been sitting on the shelf looking all depressed. So I put a new drive shaft in it because I'd robbed that for the high trail, or part of it for the high trail anyways. And I just, for shits and giggles, took the 1200 Fusion that was in the Capra and put in here. And I figured this thing usually doesn't run for very long, especially when I'm towing with it. So we'll see how long it lasts in there until it goes up in smoke. So yeah, I think that's about it. I don't think I did anything else with that. I did have to put a new receiver in there. The old one was smoked. Didn't want to calibrate, bind, whatever. So yeah, drive shaft, receiver, and motor in the 6x6 dually. Drive shafts and links and rod ends for the Capra, and steering servo for the high trail. Should be it. So get this trio out and run them around the pit here for a few. Hopefully it won't be a terrible long video for you, but it is what it is. I want to try a different line. I've crawled up the right side, well, as far as like where the Capra is facing this rock right now. I've crawled up the right side of it and I've crawled up the left side of it, but I've never been able to crawl straight up the front face of it. So we're gonna see if that extra wheelbase will get the job done. Not too shabby. One downside to stretching the wheelbase out is going to be breakover angle is going to end up being a little bit worse. So let's see if it can make this spot right here or not. Definitely going to have to go high side on the left, otherwise I'll belly out on the rock there. I do have another radio on the way, so hopefully this glitchy steering issue will be solved here soon. Oh, actually got enough wheel speed now to catch this thing when it falls over backwards. That 1200 that was in here didn't have enough to catch itself when it went to fall. Man, that thing is way dropped out in the front. Wheels way up in there. Wow. That maneuver right there is what my old, the first crawler I ever had was a ECX Temper. That was its signature move right there. It had so much articulation. This thing is almost all the way over backwards. Holy crap. Okay. Camera is level right there as far as the little level indicator goes. That's crazy. I don't know if I'll be able to back out of this or not, because the passenger side wheel is literally like it's laying on the rim. Okay. Turn into it. Try to set it back down before it unloads. Hey, man. That was pretty wild. This thing's like a dang spider monkey. I'm just gonna have to hold the camera here. There's no good spot to set this thing down where there isn't a glare from the sun. So here within the last couple weeks, I've had quite a few more subscribers than average, I guess, and gotten a couple questions about the tires. I've actually made a couple videos about them already, but I figured I'd go ahead and go over them again since they got a little spotlight action during the Trucks with Cups tournament. So these were 2.2 ruptures. I tried them out as they come out of the package with a couple different foams, inserts, what have you. Couldn't get them to really work for me at all, no matter what I did with them. So I had 2 full sets of them, so I figured may as well do some experimenting. And what I did was basically the opposite of what like West Desert Wheeler does when he makes cut and shuts. He takes 1.9 tires and he'll cut up an extra set of them, cut a pie cut out of them, and add them to another tire to take a 475 1.9 up to a, what, you know, depending on what tire it is, like a 5.25. Now it's a 2.2 tire, and they stay their same skinny width. Well, these ones, I did the opposite. I took a very tall and wide tire and I cut a section out of it and then just glued it back together. So I shortened the height of the tire, but I kept the full width. So I'm pretty sure that these out of the package are like a 5.8 inch tire, somewhere around in there. And from what I cut out, now it's down to a 5.1 or 5.2 maybe. And I could have put these on a 1.9, but they're so wide, I just had to go ahead and stretch them back out onto a 2.2. And then the issue that probably most people would have trying to run a tire like this is, well, I don't have a 3D printer, but I haven't had the best of luck with 3D printed inserts anyways. But nobody makes a foam or an insert that fits this specific odd size for a crawler tire. So I just took the stock foam and cut it up, and ended up cutting it a good bit smaller than what it should have been. So the tires, as you can see, bag out pretty bad. I mean, there's a good bit of airspace in there, plus the tires are soft and the rig is heavy. So there's a lot of extra compliance there, which is amazing, probably 70% of the time. But that other 30%, say you're on crazy, well, we'll actually go over here and I should be able to show you. So you get on a crazy climb somewhere and the tire's grabbing, you're getting traction, but just not quite enough to overcome the obstacle and keep moving forward. But when these tires spin, they'll bind up and stretch real hard which is where they get most of their grip from. But if it doesn't move the rig forward and they spin a little bit more, they'll just release and completely cut loose. They'll grab again almost immediately, but there's so much extra rubber that's gotten stretched and peeled back by the time that happens. It's almost like a slingshot. When they cut loose, they really cut loose. Let's see if I can find a spot here. Okay, so that back tire right there, you see how it's completely folded over? Now, if I keep trying to go up this line, it's gonna cut loose and it's gonna drop back. Or it's gonna actually grab that edge like it just did. That's the 70% of the time right there. Most tires wouldn't do that. You can see that side's wrapped up just as bad, even though it's not on an edge. But when those cut loose, you get that kickback. I didn't get a very extreme version of it there, but hopefully you get the point that I'm trying to make here. So I've just kind of learned to drive with it. Like I said, most people out there probably would just find that unacceptable and would search for another tire or insert setup. I have considered adding, I've got some thin outer rings that I cut off of the Fling King foams for the high trail, and they're actually bigger than what these are. So I thought about maybe cutting a section of that out and tearing these apart and putting a little extra foam in them, but I'm not sure, because like I said, I've learned at least how to deal with these tires, and in most situations I can use it to my advantage, and it can get this thing or whatever rig they're on to crawl some ridiculous lines, so long as you know how to deal with that release and cut back. Because when it gets extreme, it gets really extreme. Okay, so we're still, even with the extended wheelbase, we're still getting that front end dropping out when it gets real vertical. So I may have to end up putting one of my bungees on the front of this thing. I thought maybe I could get away with not having to do that, but I'm not great at tuning suspension, quote unquote, the correct way, I suppose. I can make it work, but I can make it work my way. And stuff like this, if I threw some more wheel speed at it, and not a whole bunch, just a little bit. I have no doubt it would make this no problem, but I like to slow crawl more than anything else. I want that thing to just claw and fight and pure traction get to where it's gonna go. The only time you'll see me use wheel speed is as a last resort when it comes to especially my four-wheel steer rigs. We'll see if the stretched wheelbase helps on the descent. And the last time I tried coming down this, before I stretched it, it was, once it got down on the ledge there a little bit, assing like the stink bug up pretty bad and come on over the top of it. So we'll see if stretching it out can get my front tires down a little further before that happens. All right. First half of it was better. Nice. Solid improvements. And now for the moment I've all been waiting for. If there was ever a spot that stretching the wheelbase would make a dramatic difference, it would be this spot right here. I have not been able to make this little ridgeline climb with this particular rig yet. So I'm hoping this extra long wheelbase should be enough to get me up to that next little ledge and grab. So I'm gonna have to walk over here to the side so I can see a little better. It is right there. One of these days, I will make that as a slow crawl with this rig. Mark my words. There's one other spot that I want to try. I highly doubt that it'll happen, but I have to try it, and then we'll move on to the other trucks. So every time I make a significant change to one of my capable crawlers, I have to try this line. I have had a long-term goal of being able to climb up into the notch of that tree right there from the ground, and I can get my front tires to the notch, but it's so off camber and vertical in different directions. I have not been able to get the truck crested up into that notch, so I don't have the highest of hopes, but I've got to try it. If nothing else, as a benchmark, that way the next time I make a big change, if it makes it then I'll know exactly what did it. So there's there's actually 3 different entrances to get up onto this thing. You can either take the line I'm taking now, or you can scoot over to the other gap right beside it, and then on the other side there's another route that's growing up that you can go up as well. It's a really sweet tree, and eventually I will make that notch, and whenever that day comes, then I will start building onto and off of the rest of it over there. But I told myself the first time I tried it that I'm not going to make any modifications or start building anything over here until I can get a truck up into that notch. The way that the front end keeps dropping out on this thing when it gets vertical, I don't see it happening. But like I said, I made a big change, so I gotta try. Front tires are getting light already. Right front starting to lift. So then you got to start using your rear steer to counteract it. And right now that rear tire is hanging on that bark right there. And once you get to the corner right here, it falls off. So you're gonna have to get that front left tire up on the ledge of the notch there before that rear tire falls off that strip of bark. I have not been able to do it. This front tire is off the ground already, and we're still not anywhere close. it's at the balance point right now. Pretty much anything I do is gonna result in a fail. And this is one of those situations where those tires loading up on grip and then cutting loose, this is one of those spots. Sorry, you have to excuse me. There's on edge nowadays on this obstacle because there's actually a critter hole that goes underneath of this thing. I've seen groundhogs, possums, and skunks go in that hole. So anytime I hear a noise, it kind of stops me dead in my tracks. And I don't feel good about kneeling down here. But in order to show you this back tire, kind of have to. So you can see how it's folded up. It's got all of the traction on that back tire right there. So when it cuts loose, I'm prepping to catch this thing when it falls. I think that's about max loaded out that tire can get. The next move it makes, it's coming off of there. Oh, nope. Actually just came over backwards. But yeah, one of these days I'll make that notch. But yet again, that day is not today. Well, all in all, I'm pretty happy with the progress on this thing so far. I'm definitely heading in the right direction. Not sure what I'm gonna do next exactly. I know I definitely need to get a bungee on the front of this thing. That's going to make a huge difference in the vertical capabilities on this thing. I may also try to find some wider hubs for these bead locks, and if I can't, then I may end up throwing a set of the small hex extensions I got on here, because I feel like as wide as it is, it could use a little bit more width to it, which is odd to say as wide as these tires are, but that'll help out quite a bit. So long as I'm not running this thing somewhere where they've got gates that need to be cleared. I'm a big fan of having wide and long vehicles. The stability, it just makes it to where you can do crazier and crazier lines the wider and the longer you get. But we'll call it a day on the Capra. I'd say that's a win. I'm getting there. Still got a long ways to go. Well, next up, we'll get the high trail out and run it around up here at the pit as well. I don't really see any need to make this video any longer with running the 6x6 around. I've got plenty of running videos of that thing doing everything under the sun. I'll get a few extra shots of it on the way back down to the house while it's towing the capper back to the garage. Like I said, I haven't really done anything with that other than put a motor back in it, and that motor is actually on its way out the door, so who knows how long that's going to stay running, but that'll buy me a little bit of time to get another decent motor for it. So we'll take this thing out and see what kind of holes we can dig and what kind of hills we can climb. just about do it. Said I mainly wanted to come up here for the Capra, see how it did after stretching it out, and definite improvements there. But like I said earlier, I've still got a long way to go to get to where I want to be. As far as the high trail goes, steering is so much better now. I'll be interested to see how much better it is once I get the Fling Kings back on it, because that was where I was having the most hang-ups with it, because those tires are so big and wide and they grab so hard on the terrain that they're meant for. So it was kind of rough on that stock servo, but other than that, high trail seems to be running good. The 6x6 with the half burn up motor, it made it up here. That didn't feel overly hot when I got up here, but we'll take the scenic route back to the garage, and we'll see what it's like when I get back down there. So yeah, all in all, it's a good day. It's not hot outside. I haven't been getting attacked by bugs as much as I normally do, so I've got no complaints on this day, and I hope you don't either. I hope y'all enjoyed at least a little bit. If you got any questions on anything, just hit me up in the comments. I'm pretty good about getting back to every single comment. If it's not right away, it'll be within the next day. I'm pretty active on here, even when I'm not posting videos. So hit me up. Thank you for watching. I very much appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know what we're gonna get into next. I've got a couple bigger projects coming up here that I'm really excited about. So hope y'all stick around and follow along with the madness. It's not really a process, it's pretty much just madness. But yeah, again, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Later.